When it comes to supplements, the biggest, most important thing that you have to be remembering is the word supplement is literally, it's supplement, obviously, right? But what does it mean? It literally means to be in addition to. If you are supplementing, you are doing this in addition to something else. It is not in place of something else. It is not anything except for that accoutrement, if we're going to go all SAT words on this, right? Like, it's that extra little boost that's supposed to help you. It is not meant to do the heavy lifting. Welcome to the Your Diabetes Insider podcast, where we take all of the mysteries of blood sugar control, focusing on nutrition, exercise, and any of the other 40 plus factors that may impact your blood sugar. If you don't know me, my name is Ben Zeal. I'm a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, strength and conditioning coach, and I've lived myself with type 1 diabetes for over 20 years. And I am here to share everything that I have learned in both my personal and professional experience so you can live that incredible diabetes life. So get ready and let's dive right into today's episode. What is going on? Welcome to the Your Diabetes Insider podcast. And today I'm feeling like a little bit of a rant, but not even so much a rant, more so just let's shed some light on the truth regarding a topic that I get asked at least half a dozen times per week about, but I think there's far too much emphasis on it relative to what the emphasis could/should be on. And that would be supplements. Because I genuinely don't think I go past more than a day where someone's like, should I be taking creatine? Should I be taking this vitamin? Should I be taking this mineral? Should I be taking this thing? And I feel like we need to go through a little bit as to what supplements role is, and then what the role is within diabetes in a nutshell, because I feel like it's gotten very skewed over the last, if we're being honest, probably 25 years, but it could be even longer. But in general, supplements utility has gotten very skewed because people tend to view them as these, oh, I can just take the supplement and everything will be better. You know, oh, if I just take berberine, my blood sugars will be great. If I just take this fill-in-the-blank herb that comes from fill-in-the-blank exotic faraway location, my blood sugars will be amazing and I'll be cured and everything will be... No. If it were that simple, we would all be doing it. Trust me. I think the biggest thing out of the gate to really hammer home when it comes to supplements, which I don't think I've gone in major depth on this channel, but when it comes to supplements, the biggest, most important thing that you have to be remembering is the word supplement is literally... It's supplement, obviously, right? But what does it mean? It literally means to be in addition to. If you are supplementing, you are doing this in addition to something else. It is not in place of something else. It is not anything except for that accoutrement, if we're going to go all SAT words on this, right? Like, it's that extra little boost that's supposed to help you. It is not meant to do the heavy lifting. If we were to put this into a pyramid, which the food pyramid got abolished, thank God. I don't think the plate is any better, but digressing, right? If you look at the pyramid, we put, everything you got to do in diabetes land into a pyramid. The supplements are that little teeny part at the top that makes the little baby triangle. That is the emphasis that you should be putting on supplements relative to everything else when it comes to diabetes. If you tell me, and this is a very succinct way of doing it, I could rant on this for probably like 2 hours. If you were to tell me that you were to do everything else from a diabetes standpoint, you're on point with your meds, right? Whether that's oral meds for type 2, whether that's insulin for type 1. And if it's insulin, your timing's on point. Your amount is on point. Your ratios are on point. Your basal rate is on point, etc. You tell me all of those things are on point. You tell me that nutritionally, you are dialed in, eating an appropriate amount of food for you with sufficient protein, with sufficient fiber, veggies, quality fat sources, etc. You tell me that your exercise is on point with a combination of both cardio and strength training. You tell me that your sleep is on point. You tell me that you are great at managing stress. And so it's not something that's starting to eat into your life and your bandwidth, because we already know as people with diabetes, we're already limited in general with how many other decisions we have to make, let alone stress on top of it. And then you tell me on top of all of those things are perfect, A1, spectacular. And you're like, I still want just a little tiny boost to get me to that next level of blood sugar management. That is where your supplements come into play. That is when the supplements come into play. So notice that I just listed a bunch of things that have nothing to do with supplements. That is because supplements, I'm not going to call them insignificant. They absolutely can be useful. They absolutely can be utilized in a way that makes sense, that does add and enhance what you are doing. But the key is they are enhancing what is already there. They are not going to become the building blocks. For example, if you were building a pyramid, the great pyramids of Giza, right? If you were to be building those, this is the capstone that you put on the top. Supplements are not the foundational piece that is building the pyramid. And I know that I may have just ranted on this for a few minutes, but it has to be drilled into your mind. Because if you are going into supplements saying, I'm going to search far and wide for the best possible supplement stack ever, and it's going to be the most amazing thing, you are not only going to be severely disappointed, but you are doing everything completely ass backwards. And there's no nicer way to put that than what I just said. It is ass backwards. So now that disclaimer is out of the way, now that you know that supplements are meant to be enhancing what you're already doing, what is necessary, what is not, I have a million opinions. Everyone has an opinion. Their opinions are like assholes, right? Everybody's got one and most of them stink. So with this, when it comes to supplements as people with diabetes, what is necessary? What is not? Creatine is probably the most common one I get asked. Should I take creatine? Should I not take creatine? One thing I can say is it's going to depend on your individual situation. Of course, any answer is it depends, because I don't know, depending on you, I may know you personally, I may not know you personally. So again, understand what I'm saying right here is very blanket, generalized information and insight, but you're going to have to talk with your care team to make sure if one of these, if you're interested, is a good fit for you, or if it's not a good fit for you. And if you don't have a care team that you trust, that you care about, my team and I are here. We all live with type 1. We all have exercise backgrounds. We're all dietitians, and we would be thrilled to be a part of your journey. So message me on Instagram or TikTok at Man of Zeal if you want more information on that. So creatine, if we go back to that. So what's creatine going to do, right? From a workout perspective, creatine is going to say, hey, I'm going to give you more ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate, which in a nutshell, basically should allow you to delay your time to fatigue, which should theoretically allow you to pump out a few more reps, maybe a set or two extra. And then because you're doing a little extra, you're getting a little bit stronger. Because you're getting stronger, you see the gains faster, everything's great. Biggest things about creatine. Number one, it's the most studied supplement in the world. So from a safety standpoint, you're probably in a good spot if you don't have pre-existing kidney problems. Any sort of kidney problems, I'd probably run away from it. Absolutely kicking, screaming, running away. But on the flip side, if you're like, hey, I understand what I'm doing. I understand that I'm not supposed to be on it continuously forever and ever. And I'm supposed to theoretically have a loading phase, and then a phase that's maintenance, and then a phase that's weaning off, and then a phase where I'm not on it. And you're willing to, cycle on it up and down, because that's what you're supposed to do with creatine if you're going to use it correctly. If you're okay with all of that, by all means, have at it. If you feel like it will be worth it from a performance standpoint, if your kidneys are also on point, and if you're also willing to accept that you're probably going to gain 3 to 5, maybe even up to 8 pounds of water. Absolute sheer water. That's just all it is. It's water weight. But understand that as well, right? Could I get more in depth in this? Sure. But in a nutshell, consider that with your care team before you're like, I'm going to go take it. It's amazing. Protein powder, I wouldn't even count as a supplement. I would count that as a very convenient way to get protein into your diet, which is just food, right? You could say, oh, I took a scoop of protein powder. Oh, I had a chicken breast, and the macros are relatively the same. They're going to have different impacts on blood sugar just because of how broken down one of them is versus the other, but I wouldn't even count that as a supplement. And then from there, we're looking, okay, what other common supplements are there? And I go through some of them on social. I go through some of them in general just to make sure I have a pretty good sense of what's actually worth it and what's just a bunch of hogwash, for, again, lack of a better term. But one of the major players that I've noticed is vitamin D. You're already likely deficient in if you live with diabetes. Just at baseline, it's been seen that most people are deficient. Not everybody, but a lot of people are. The good news is you can get it from the sun with, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day of unabated quality sun rays. But it has a lot of help with immune function. It has been shown that people with higher vitamin D also tend to have leaner body composition. So less body fat, nobody's mad about that, because less body fat equals ideally a little less insulin resistance, which means higher insulin sensitivity, which we all want as people with diabetes, the insulin working more efficiently. So you tell me you've got that, plus you've the concept with the immune system. There's areas in bone health, like I'd say that's a no-brainer. Absolutely. If you live with diabetes, plus it's fat soluble. So if you have it, it's going to be stored in your body. It's not just going to be something where you have a B complex. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with B complex, but you take a B complex and you pee out everything and your pee is neon. So it's pretty much like you're paying for really bright colored pee, which is fine. But again, more than likely within your diet, you are likely consuming enough B vitamins. And again, vitamin C, similar boat. If you're having fruits and veggies, you're probably hitting your vitamin C quota as well. So it's not something that I'd be rushing. Oh my God, I must go get this right now. Oh my goodness. You're probably okay. Again, depends on how you eat. If you're eating a lot of junk food, convenience food, frozen food, canned food, you may have to try a little bit harder to get some of these vitamins naturally within your life. You have to pay attention to that as well. And thinking about all of this, remember how I mentioned at the beginning, one of those building blocks was, is your food on point? If your food's on point, most supplements are not. You don't need them necessarily. They're nice to have. Some of the doses, once you get past, what you'll get from food, can be useful. One prime example of that would be zinc. I think zinc would be a great option from an immunity standpoint, right? That's an amazing option. Some people need a little extra selenium, right? Some people need a little copper because they went too heavy on the zinc. There's a bunch of things out there where you can get it from food. Different foods have these different, minerals in them, but then it's like, are you getting a sufficient amount? Iron would be a massive one. Careful on the iron supplements because they can stop you up, very much so. But again, not saying it's a problem, something to just be aware of. There's a bunch of things where even if you were to just tell me, hey, I'm going to go plug my stuff into a chronometer, there we go. Like that type of food diary, or even just look up some of the stuff that you have on a regular basis with the USDA database, which from a tracking standpoint is abysmal, but their database has all of the extra nutrients that most of them don't have. If you do something like that, you can get an idea pretty quick of what you tend to be deficient in and may want to shore up those holes. Because again, keep in mind, you're not over here with the goal of let me take 30 different things every single day. Your goal is, what are the major players, the big movers of the needle that I am missing or I'm not getting enough of, and how can I plug that to make it a little bit better? Now, if you're on, the workout side again, you're like, okay, well, what else could be useful? Should I be taking pre-workout? Should I be taking caffeine? Caffeine can and will impact your blood sugar, as you probably know from your coffee. So make sure you're aware of that and know that it can go up. But then in terms of pre-workouts, you got your beta-alanines, right? You've got your taurine, other things. They can have potential blood sugar impacts. Is it likely? If it's with caffeine, it's probably the caffeine that's driving it. But there are things that you have to be paying attention to, and they're not completely necessary. Like if I'm being honest, I wouldn't even call myself anti-supplement by any means. I am very much in favor of the right supplements for the right people in the right circumstances. But I'm not like, oh my God, like I just said, I'm not, let's go have 1 trillion supplements and go have a blast and it'll be fun and we'll see what happens. Like most things you probably don't need or you're not going to see crazy benefits from it. Berberine, if you're a type 1, not enough research on to really know if there's anything useful. Type 2, it's been shown that it may actually assist. It may help you. There's stuff like maca root. Maca root can absolutely help marginally, but keep in mind, most of the studies that are done for any supplement in the context of diabetes, the majority tend to be done in type 2, and think about why. Because most people with diabetes have type 2. 90 to 95% of diabetes is type 2 diabetes. So the type 1 studies are going to be fewer and further between, and they're going to be with your more established supplements like your vitamin C's, your vitamin D's, etc. So keep that in mind. If you're like, oh, I'm going to go dig in the research. Well, I can't find anything. Why is that? That's probably why. Because also keep in mind, as much as there's obscure research going on, like I actually know someone whose dissertation was on like snacking habits in preschoolers, which is important, but obviously it's, it seems a little bit like people being like, oh, this supplement with this obscure herb in type 1 diabetes, probably not going to be the top thing that is going to get funded by a research grant, right? If you think about it logically. But another biggie that I think could be beneficial, again, depending on your situation, ashwagandha, absolute amazing when it comes to chilling you out, when it comes to immune impact and positively, when it comes to potential, body composition improvements with potential blood sugar benefits, especially even just in a nutshell, by virtue of it can decrease your stress, which then allows your body to chill out, which then means cortisol is down, which then means insulin resistance is down. So there's different mechanisms like that where you can insinuate, or you can say, hey, well, if this does this, therefore, boom. And again, that could be faulty reasoning, but again, using your brain and really thinking critically can be really helpful. Ashwagandha is incredible. Some of the vasodilators, right? So you could argue, like the beetroots of the world, the citrulline of the world, the arginines of the world. Some of those things can have utility when used in the correct circumstances, whether it's for pre-workout or whether it's just blood flow in general, right? There's a bunch of things like that are useful. Collagen, technically, you could put it in the same classification as the protein powder. However, it's a specific type of protein powder, right? It's specifically collagen. From a bone standpoint, from a tendon standpoint, I would absolutely say people with diabetes, we should be taking collagen. That's one that I will pound the table for, because we at baseline are making 40% less than people without diabetes, no matter how good your blood sugar is controlled. So I would abso-freaking-lutely be considering collagen as a supplement. So, if we're looking at what do I really pound to the table for, collagen, vitamin D, maybe ashwagandha under certain circumstances, like those are like, that's 3. You're probably over here thinking, Ben probably has like 20 things. No, I really don't. Like zinc's high on my list, magnesium's high on my list, but there's a lot of things that are just nice to have. They're not need to haves, right? Again, it comes down to you and what you're willing to do from either a money investment standpoint, or just from a, hey, I feel like taking this and I think it could actually benefit me. Because also keep in mind, there's a lot of times there's supplements, they help for a short period of time and then your body gets used to it. Like a prime example of that was way back in the day, way back in the day. I think I was in early grad school. I had read this thing about, cayenne pepper is supposed to help with blood sugar impact, and they're trying to use it to, cure diabetes in these certain mice and whatever. Okay, well, I can go get cayenne pepper supplements at Walmart for $2. So let's try it and see what happens. Well, lo and behold, I actually did. I did it for, I think it was 3 weeks at the time. And I was like, wow, 3 weeks, my sensitivity's way up. I'm taking way less insulin. This is amazing. And then my body was just used to it. And so then all of a sudden, nothing changed. Nothing continued to get better. Nothing did get better. And I eventually reverted right back to where I was. Because my body got used to it, and that was it. That was it. L-thean. Done. So a lot of things will act like that as well, where you try something, you're like, oh, this is the best thing since the flush toilet, and it just didn't happen. It didn't work out. So keep that in mind as well. There's going to be things marketed in certain ways. There's going to be things, again, under certain circumstances. If someone's trying to heal, there's going to be a different supplement stack than someone who's just trying to build muscle versus somebody who's, coming off of having not worked out for a year and a half versus somebody who's just chilling, living life and just wants a little extra immune support, right? There's going to be a million different options, but ultimately 90 to 95% of the work is going to come from the foundational pieces that I mentioned at the beginning. Is your nutrition on point? Is your activity on point? Is your sleep on point? Is your stress managed? All of those things from a blood sugar standpoint will shape your blood sugar more than anything else. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you, that will shape your blood sugar more than anything else. And then at that point, of course, the insulin and diabetes management. You tell me your blood sugars are in a good spot there, and you're like, all right, my average blood sugar is 136. Maybe a supplement will drop it to 130, right? That'll be nice. It wouldn't be so bad. I wouldn't be mad about that. But on the flip side, you want to have all of the important parts of the house in order first before you start dealing with this little teeny area. Like imagine you have a big, beautiful house. Sounds great, right? Big, beautiful house. And you're like, okay, I got the kitchen good and the living room and this and that. But instead you're spending all your time and attention and energy on like the front powder room, like the toilet and the sink. And it's like a 4-foot long room. And it's like 4 foot by, it's a teeny little room, right? There's a pocket door. It doesn't even have a real door. It's a pocket door. And you're putting all your time and attention in that little teeny powder room when there's a big old beautiful house for you to be paying attention to. Why would you do that? That would be so goofy and silly, right? It sounds silly when I describe it like that. That's what you're doing by paying too much attention to supplements and not paying attention to everything else. So you've heard some of my faves. You've heard my soapbox. If you are not paying attention to the foundational pieces, start. And if you don't know where to start, like I said, my team and I are here to help. We are here to support you. We all have diabetes. We get it on a personal and a professional level. And we would love to be a part of your journey. So if you're interested in that, message me on social media at manofzeel, MANOFTZEEL. If you've got questions on this, if you've got thoughts, commentary, message me as well. And if you're loving the podcast, you're getting value from it, it would mean the world to me if you dropped a 5-star review on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you are listening. So always grateful for you, grateful for being able to do this. I will catch you in the next episode, and don't get too caught up in the supplements.
Hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey.